This has been one of the few years to Hans and Nick's joy, I imagine, with how easy it was for me to pull together a top 5. Usually I'm the one who doesn't play that many games released in a given year, but, as you might suspect, when you're spending most of the year indoors due to global events, there's very few things to do but play video games. So welcome to my top 5 games of 2020. Starting off, we have Fall Guys Ultimate Knockout by Mediatonic. As a child, I grew up on shows like Takeshi's Castle and Total Wipeout. Playing Fall Guys lets me live out those old fantasies of participating in such shows. I'll bet to the body of a little bean boy that just can't seem to stand on his own 2 feet. The beauty of the game lies in its simplicity. Although it came out during the still current trend of Battle Royale games, what's more important is that it's a platformer that anyone can pick up and enjoy. I received a text from one of my non-gamer friends, and she texted me saying she won her first crime. And that for me showed how important the game is. Speaking of winning, it's nice having a progression system that rewards winners and cosmetics to show off, but even failing leads to progress in a battle pass system that also contains its own rewards. You should play games to have fun in the game itself, not for the shiny trinkets. It's what led to the large era of cheating that the game faced, which had hilarious ends and story that I would recommend looking up. I'm happy with how the developers handled issues like that, but beyond system changes, the game is still receiving updates in regards to levels, both brand new and variations on existing ones, and I really look forward to seeing how this game will evolve. That being said, a part of me wishes I didn't enjoy the game so much, else Hans might not have sent me this Christmas jumper. Wasteland 3 makes it into spot number 4 in my list as a buggy but brilliant game. I love post-apocalyptic settings, such as The Walking Dead, Snowpiercer, or games like Frostpunk. It is within worlds like this that demonstrate the selfishness of man, and creates narratives that I find most interesting. However, what makes the setting of Colorado even more interesting is the absolutely insane characters and quests you come across. Finding Santa Claus and his elves running a drug den, discovering a man cloning himself in his apartment, and my personal favourite, arriving at a settlement whose loyalties lie in God President Reagan, an AI they wish to transfer to a human body, but we came along and transferred the AI to a group of communist robots. And when I say we, I mean myself and my co-op buddy Bunchy, or rather his character, John Wikipedia. Being able to experience these wacky scenarios while also sharing the burden of looting every item made the experience so much better. We did encounter numerous bugs on our adventure, but that didn't hamper the enjoyment we had. If you enjoyed the original Fallout games, this should be right up your alley. And if you enjoy the more recent games, then I'd say you can enjoy all the bugs featured here too. I know Mega Man is known for its 2D side-scrolling platformers, but for me, Mega Man interested me the most when it came to Capcom's Mega Man Battle Network series. One Step from Eden took the unique battle system from the Battle Network series, expanded it, and made a complete game based on it. In these games, you have freedom to move your character around a 4x4 grid, while using spells from a deck that you modify as you complete more battles. The difference though, is that unlike other deck building games, you can always prevail due to skill, regardless of your build, due to telegraphed enemy attacks happening in real time. That being said, the game is punishing, when on occasion it can feel like you're in a bullet hell shooter as effects fill the screen. Death after death is to be expected, as with any roguelike, but the core gameplay is simply a lot of fun, meaning I'm more than happy to jump right back into it. Not to mention the runs feel different, not only because of the different builds you might discover, but also the unlockable characters with their own gimmicks for you to try and build around. As someone who's been getting a bit tired of pixel graphics, I think One Step to Eden has a really great style, between the characters, backgrounds, and spell effects. Not to mention I think the soundtrack fits the game perfectly. I didn't think I'd ever play a game like Mega Man Battle Network from 2001, but yet here we are. I'm really happy One Step from Eden was made, and I know it's very difficult, but please, if you're up for a little punishment, give it a try and take that step towards Eden. Spiritfarer, the game whose developer Thunder Lotus Games described as a cozy management game about death. You play as Spiritfarer Stella, whose role it is to guide people to the afterlife. You wouldn't think it, with its beautiful watercolor graphics and bright aesthetics, that Spiritfarer would delve into something as dark as death. But it does, and even more so, the game covers many topics that we as people can relate to. From dysfunctional families, mistreated workers, and psychological issues like dementia, Spiritfarer's main core element are the stories of the passengers. And so when the game is willing to discuss such deep topics, it really makes each character feel so much more believable, and results in a much more poignant end to each character's ultimate departure from your ship. The ship is where the management aspect of the game comes in. When you meet new characters, they board your ship, and you must make their stay as comfortable as possible. The actual gameplay part comes in the form of an almost Animal Crossing-like format, whereby you're tending for crops and shearing sheep, which sounds very dull, but the game does a very good job of justifying your actions through the stories of your characters. You're not doing these because you're getting new weapons or powers. You're making pork chops because that's Uncle Ado's favourite food. I don't want to spoil too much of the stories, but I just wanted to highlight one: Alice. Alice is essentially the loving grandmother character. She's also the character that unlocks the ability to change your character's appearance, which in a lot of games is simply a cosmetic or stat-related thing. However, as you progress through Alice's story, you find out she suffers from dementia, and at one point she doesn't even recognize your character, and only responds after you dress your character like her daughter Annie, who she had previously said you reminded her of. Slowly walking her, arm in arm, from the front of the ship to the final destination, the Everdor, was such a defining moment. I know death is the last thing people want to think about from 2020, but Spiritfarer's take on the topic is so deep and relatable that I would suggest you try out this game and brace yourself for the feels. I absolutely love Greek mythology, so much so that back in school I took up a course called Classical Civilization, hoping it would be akin to Disney's Hercules. It was not, but a game that met both my mythological and gaming expectations was Supergiant's Hades. In the game, you play as Zagreus, son of Hades, as you try to escape the underworld in search of your mother Persephone. As you slaughter your way through the minions of the underworld, Olympian gods grant their boons to you, augmenting Zagreus' abilities. And with each failed escape attempt, you grow stronger as with any good roguelite. But this isn't my number one game, just because it's a roguelite. What makes it stand out from its peers is that Supergiant tried to tell a story, whereby each attempt rewards you with much more lore, expanding the world. There isn't much to see in the underworld, but it is home to many characters, each with their own story for you to discover. All packaged in this amazing art style and beautifully composed music that we've come to expect from Supergiant games, not to mention the great voice acting on display. It took me 12 runs to escape the first time, but I played it far more afterwards, still revealing more lore and trying out new combinations of gods and weapons. I find it hard to recommend most roguelites to people, but Hades is such a great introduction on what an accessible roguelite can be that also rewards players who master the game. So if you haven't already, please pick up my game of the year of 2020, Hades.